Hello and welcome back to Skypothesis. We are two brothers who believe Skyrim to be an endlessly replayable game and created this channel to serve as a digital library for all our best builds, and invite you to play them along with us to experience the game in a brand new way. This month we are excited to share a Chronomancer, a Lord of Time and former Moth Priest who was granted a fractured foresight after reading an Elder Scroll. We're using the Anniversary Edition item, the Staff of Elno-Ed, which spews a stamina-absorbing wall of storms to create a unique take on the traditional sword and board playstyle. With mastery over time and a sacred duty to uphold, the Oracle of Time provided us with an unforgettable playthrough. We've put timestamps in the video so you can easily navigate from backstory, roleplay, gear, perks, special moves, and more, but our videos are best experienced from start to finish. So without further ado, let's jump into the backstory for the aged Oracle of Time. Born in the mystic city of Lainlin, along the northern coast of the Alakir Desert, the Oracle was a nervous child with an overwhelming sense of anxiety about the future. From a young age he was drawn to soothsayers, fortune-tellers, and anyone who could offer a glimpse of what was to come. His relentless need to understand the future was born out of a deep fear of uncertainty. He feared his parents' deaths. He feared the onset of war. He couldn't shake the feeling that if he knew what was coming, he could prepare for it, control it, and avoid calamity. Lainlin was home to a multitude of soothsayers who only fed his fascination. His constant anxiety over the future alienated him from his peers. He couldn't shake the need to understand the unseen forces at play. As he grew older, he enlisted in the Imperial Legion, hoping to find some sense of purpose and stability amidst the chaos. This was long before Hammerfell rejected the White Gold Concordat. He became a battle mage, relying on his skill with a scimitar and a bit of destruction magic to defend the Empire. However, his obsession with time only grew during his service. His fellow soldiers grew weary of his incessant questioning about the future, his constant insistence that the outcome of the war, the fall of enemies, or even personal fates could be predicted. His belief that it was possible to see the future became more consuming, but it was also more disruptive. Eventually, his obsession led to his departure from the Legion. The Oracle felt alone and empty after leaving the structure of the Legion, so he sought out the Moth Priests in the Imperial City, who were known for their deep study of the Elder Scrolls, artifacts of time itself. They seemed the perfect answer to his lifelong yearning for answers. There, he studied the scrolls for decades, slowly becoming an elder himself. His devotion to the Moth Priests was unwavering, but despite his knowledge, he always felt that something was missing. His true purpose had not yet been fulfilled. At the age of 70, after decades of service, he was finally granted access to study from an actual Elder Scroll in the Imperial City. This scroll was unlike any other. It contained glimpses of the Empire's fate, visions of Alduin's return, and a glimpse of his own future. As he read, the visions overwhelmed him. He saw the return of the World Eater, but he also saw himself, an old man adorned in gilded robes controlling the flow of time itself. He saw his influence extending into Skyrim, where the Empire would struggle to maintain its hold. He saw battles, death, and triumph. The overwhelming flood of information wasn't without consequence. His mind began to fracture under the weight of it all, and his sight became blurred. His eyes became unable to fully comprehend the complexity of the visions. He became partially blind with only a vague and hazy understanding of the present, while his mind remained entangled in time's vast web. He had glimpsed the future, but the cost had been his present clarity. Determined to fulfill what he had seen, the old Oracle picked up his old sword and shield, left the Moth Priests behind, and set his course for Skyrim, confident that it was his destiny to help the Empire secure its hold on the province, just as his visions had foretold. But despite the trauma, the Oracle remains steadfast. His sight is compromised, but his belief that he has a unique role in shaping the future of Tamriel remains unshaken. The Oracle of Time, being deeply concerned with the flow of time and the grand design of the universe, views every event and decision as part of an intricate tapestry. He is not driven by personal gain, but by the desire to understand how the threads of fate are woven and what his role in it is. He is often contemplative, examining the why of every situation rather than the how or what. His perception of the future shapes his actions as he moves through Skyrim, partially even knowing the outcomes, but still participating in the grand design. This is a sort of diegetic feature, playing as the Oracle, as you, the player, likely have intimate knowledge of what will happen in every playthrough. It's a fun change of pace to bring that knowledge into the game. You no longer have to roleplay surprise at finding out you are Dragonborn, finding the Eye of Magnus for the first time, or defeating Miraak. The Oracle of Time has seen these events fractured and blurred, and though he is a bit mad, he is a true neutral character, opting to hold fast to the flow of time and ensure it plays out properly. He is not worried when he rests his head on the chopping block, for he knows that it is not his end. Even when the axe is raised, he smiles faintly, wishing he could somehow impart his knowledge of the future to the headsman. But the simple-minded could never understand the gravity of this situation. For the incoming beast is no mere dragon, it is the World Eater, sent forward in time by the ancient tongues. The Oracle sees Alduin's return as a critical event that will reshape the flow of time. He views himself as part of the greater prophecy and is determined to help, but he does so with an air of detachment, as if watching a play unfold. During the main quest, he is acutely aware of the paths leading to Alduin's return, reflecting on how time's web has woven his role into the outcome. This was always meant to be. No matter what I do, it will unfold. The question is not whether I will succeed, but how much of myself I am willing to sacrifice. After his trip to High Hrothgar, he is ambushed by cultists, and knows that he must immediately attend to the matter on Solstheim. The first Dragonborn was a vital part of the timeline, but his time has ended now, and he must be put down to make way for the new. Miraak is clinging desperately to the threads of time and must not any longer. The Oracle takes Miraak's robes as a sign of mastery over powers beyond mortal comprehension. He respects the first Dragonborn and wishes for the legacy to continue throughout time. The blood of Akatosh, the Lord of Time, flows in his veins and will continue until the end. Though the Dragonborn DLC is difficult, we recommend grinding through it before any other quests, so that you can be fully kitted out for the remainder of the playthrough. We liked to imagine that the Oracle saw himself wearing the robes of Miraak throughout his adventures in Skyrim, and knew that that timeline must be kept pure, so he had to do things in that order. Until that point, we wore the Tribunal Priest robes, which honestly look fantastic as well. So if you'd rather not grind through the Dragonborn DLC early, feel free to just wear those for most of your playthrough. Miraak's robes are purely our aesthetic choice because we didn't want to have two Storm mages on our channel that use these robes. His foresight showed his role in Skyrim aligning with the Empire's cause and putting down Ulfric. His reason for joining the Legion is grounded in the belief that his presence will tip the scales in favor of the Empire, fulfilling his roles in the greater design of the universe. He does not feel allegiance to the Empire itself, but rather to the overarching flow of time, which dictates that the Empire must succeed in Skyrim. This belief is further strengthened when his first real mission as an aged legionnaire sends him into the depths of Corvinjund, where at the end he discovers a word wall with a word of slow time, granting him knowledge of chronomancy. This word is a valuable boon to him throughout the rest of his time in Skyrim. He feels at home in the College of Winterhold, surrounded by other eccentric characters, though he makes many of them feel uncomfortable. A combination of his age, his blindness, and the air of sheer knowledge that he carries is enough to make most mages keep their distance. But it is here where he can study the metaphysical aspects of time and reality. He believes that the arcane arts may hold keys to unlocking deeper secrets about time itself, particularly through the study of magical anomalies. He approaches the college's knowledge with reverence, yet maintains a critical distance, knowing that much of their understanding of magic is limited compared to his own experiences with time. Interactions with the Psijic Order are fun with this character, as they see each other more as equals in the hands of fate in the return of the Eye of Magnus. The Eye of Magnus is mysterious and interesting, and to be honest, I've spent most of my decade playing Skyrim not digging too much into what it actually is, beyond just being a big ol' orb for wizards to ponder. The Epic Nate has a 30-minute long video all about it, and we recommend checking that out, but in a nutshell, it is an unstable artifact whose very nature threatens reality as a whole. Ensuring its safe possession back in the hands of the Psijic Order is paramount for the protection of the timeline. This perspective made the college questline more enjoyable than usual, as instead of an aspiring mage getting whisked away on a journey that doesn't really involve learning any magic, we were specifically there to protect reality from the unstable eye. The Oracle joins the Dawnguard. As a man who has seen times unraveling, he understands that the vampires, like other dark forces in Tamriel, exist as a vital element of balance. He does not see them as inherently evil, but he knows that their unchecked power could disrupt the flow of time and the natural order. He is interested in what role the Dawnguard will play in maintaining or restoring that order. In this quest, you will retrieve 3 Elder Scrolls, each of which are crowning moments for his playthrough. Although the Oracle does not get emotionally invested in the idea of good versus evil, he understands that eliminating threats like Harkon is necessary for the preservation of the timeline. He is more focused on the long-term consequences of each event rather than the immediate battle at hand, and would just as soon have sided with the Volkihar vampires had the timeline been just a little different. Another crowning moment of his playthrough is at the Time Wound, which, per the Skyrim wiki, may or may not be considered a dragon break. Here, the first of the Nordic tongues used a combination of the Thu'um and an Elder Scroll to banish Alduin into the future. The Oracle seeks to mend this potential dragon break by slaying Alduin once and for all. But what is a dragon break? They are one of the most paradoxical and mysterious events in the history of Tamriel, where the very fabric of time fractures, causing multiple conflicting timelines to coexist all at once. They are called dragon breaks because the god of time, Akatosh, momentarily breaks. In these instances, all possibilities of an event happen simultaneously, creating an overlap of timelines that cannot be reconciled. The most famous dragon break, the Warp in the West, occurred after the hero of Daggerfall used the Totem of Tiber Septim to stop a civil war. But the result was a fractured reality where people in Daggerfall lived in different timelines with no clear memory of how events truly transpired. Time is fragile and subject to manipulation by those with enough power and knowledge. The Oracle of Time has such power and knowledge, and given his studies in time magic and his lifelong obsession with the Elder Scrolls, would find the idea of a dragon break intoxicating. He might come to view these breaks not as disasters, but as opportunities. Opportunities to control time, to see all possible futures, and perhaps to reshape them to his will. He may even see himself as a potential architect of a dragon break, believing that by harnessing the Eye of Magnus or the knowledge of the Elder Scrolls, he could master time itself and rewrite the future. He takes special note to hunt all of the werebears in Solstheim, for in his fractured visions from the Elder Scroll there remained one anomaly, one piece to the puzzle that he could not define nor foresee. Encircled in the embrace of Sithis, the maw of a feral werewolf pirate, ripping his way through time and space. The vision horrified the Oracle, and he will not rest until this orc with the skull tattoos is laid to rest. But can he find him, chewing his way through the timelines with razor-sharp fangs? Now let's get into general gameplay. The Oracle's poor vision and age explains his playstyle. He is old and does not have the skill with a blade that he used to, so he relies on a unique form of chronomancy to keep his edge in combat, and it involves the Creation Club staff of El-No-Ed. This staff leaves a wall of storms with the unique property of stamina absorption, sapping the stamina from enemies within the wall of storms and giving it back to you. We roleplay this as the Oracle of Time draining the years his opponents have left and using them to supercharge himself temporarily to become his old self in combat. This staff is normally unobtainable until you start the Cause at level 40, but you know how we operate here at Skypothesis. We have no qualms with using exploits to kit out a character early. So head to Varlais Cavern as soon as you are able and use the plate glitch to break through the wooden planks barring the entrance to the Ayleid Ruin. There are 2 walls here, and you need to make it through both separately, so bring plenty of plates in case you lose them. We had the easiest time with wooden plates and using Whirlwind Sprint. The boss of this dungeon carries the staff, and it is a tough fight, so stock up on scrolls and potions before attempting, but the end result is so worth it. In conjunction with the stamina sapping of the Staff of El-No-Ed, his most defining feature in combat is his use of slow time, a shout that allows him to momentarily halt the flow of time around him. Pure chronomancy. This isn't just a tool to slow down his enemies, it's an extension of his second sight, representing his deep understanding of the future and the temporal flow of battle. When he activates slow time, the Oracle taps into his foresight, able to see and react to threats long before they happen. His movements become inhumanly fast, and enemies are left struggling to react as he blocks their attacks and retaliates with surgical precision. It's as if he knows their next move before they do. While time is slowed, he can position himself in the perfect spot to intercept enemies, blocking incoming strikes with his shield, and then using shield charge to smash through gaps in their defenses. Ward Absorb and his Lightning Cloak allow him to go into tank mode, which makes sense for an old blind man who hasn't yet sapped the vitality needed to effectively fight with his scimitar. He lets enemies come to him, and with his superior defenses from alteration spells, the Lordstone, and block perks, wears them down while he waits to gather energy for another time distortion from the power of his Thum. Moving on to spells and shouts. The Oracle of Time's primary spells are as follows: Lightning Cloak, Chain Lightning, Close Wounds, Ebony Flesh or Dragonhide, Paralysis, Mass Paralysis, and Soul Trap to recharge his staff. Lightning Cloak and the Alteration defensive spells are by far his most used in combat, and we just keep Chain Lightning and Mass Paralysis on hand for special moves, which we will get into later in the video. For shouts, we made the most frequent use of Slow Time, Whirlwind Sprint, Become Ethereal, Cyclone, Elemental Fury, and Call Dragon. Now let's discuss creating the character. Though the Staff of El-Noid is what makes his gameplay truly unique, his primary weapons are Sword and Board, the Ebony Scimitar from Ghosts of the Tribunal, and Spellbreaker, the artifact of Peryite. The Oracle of Time will wear a unique armor combination we call the All-Seeing Robes of Time, which befit such a Chronomancer. He will wear the Dwarven Crown without a seasonal visage, because we like to see the Oracle's face, beard, and tattoos. Note that unless you set your jaw as far forward as possible in the character creation, his beard will clip through the crown and look kind of funky. Functionally, if you prefer, you can slot in the Winter Visage to increase stamina and one-handed attacks. You can get this crown at the beginning of the Anniversary Edition quest Forgotten Seasons on the corpse of Elberon. He also wears Indoral Gauntlets from Ghosts of the Tribunal, Mirax robes, and regular Dwarven boots. We love the way this look comes together to give the feeling of a grand, wizened Time Lord. He will also wear an Amulet of Talos for more frequent shouts, as they are how we roleplay his control over time, and Denstagmer's Ring, which increases fire, frost, and shock resistance by 20%. You have an 8% chance of fishing this ring out with a Dwarven Rod, so get fishing. Moving on to the Oracle of Time's stats and perk spread. We chose to level him with a ratio of 1 health to 1 magicka. We are purposefully not perking stamina, because we wanted to rely on the Staff of El-Noid for our stamina. In tough fights, if this isn't enough, you always have the Redguard racial ability Adrenaline Rush to fall back on. Though we usually perk stamina for a Sword and Board character, this limitation made the gameplay loop much more fun and satisfying. You have to strategically set up your storm walls to anticipate where enemies will be so you can drain their years for yourself. Plus, then he has more health and magicka to go around for some of the higher spells like Dragonhide and Mass Paralysis. We chose the Lordstone for the Oracle Standing Stone to grant him 50 extra armor and an additional 25% magic resistance. Despite wearing robes, with the synergy of this stone with all his perks, alteration spells, and shielding, he is actually super tanky in combat. And we are playing as a Redguard for the roleplay, the aesthetic appearance, and the ability Adrenaline Rush synergizing well with the playstyle. By the time you reach level 40, you will want the following perks. In one-handed, take all 5 in Armsman, Fighting Stance, and Savage Strike. In block, we will be perking the whole tree barring Deadly Bash and Disarming Bash, which you could certainly perk after level 40, but we didn't rely on early on. As he is wearing robes, keeping his shield raised, along with perks like Shield Wall and Elemental Protection, are a must-have for him. Quick Reflexes represents his control over time in combat. In Alteration, take the Novice through Master perks, all 3 in Magic Resistance, Stability, and Atronach. In Destruction, we will be snagging the Novice through Adept perks, and both in Augmented Shock. Finally, in Restoration, we will be taking the Novice through Adept perks, Regeneration, Respite, and Ward Absorb, which works with Spellbreaker. Additional perks you'll want to seek out are Ethereal Spirit, which you can get by meditating with Parthenax on Fime, letting you recover health 25% faster while ethereal, Agent of Mara, adding an additional 15% resist magic, Secret of Strength, letting power attacks not drain stamina for 30 seconds, Mora's Grasp, freezing a target in time for 30 seconds, and Sailor's Repose, letting your healing spells cure 10% more. Alright, moving on to our favorite part of every build, the special moves. First up is Blink Bolt. The Oracle of Time is able to blink instantly across the battlefield, leaving a trail of sparks in his wake. Use Slow Time and cast the Wall of Storms from his staff along his path. The trope of an ultra-fast character leaving behind flames or sparks in their wake is one of our favorites, and it's super cool to imagine the Oracle zipping from one side of the battlefield so fast it causes sparks. When you arrive where you wanted to reposition, cast Chain Lightning until Slow Time wears out to simulate the static shock present from his lightning-quick move. Next is Time Eater, which forms the basis of his regular combat against most enemies, and combines his staff with Paralysis. Paralyze an enemy and engulf them with the sparks of El No-Id. They will serve as your battery during combat, giving you increased stamina regen while you fight other foes. Again, we roleplay the stamina stealing as the Oracle using the remaining years of his foes to rewind time in his own body and give him the strength he had when he was a younger soldier. Next, we have Chaos Control, which combines Mora's Grasp, Become Ethereal, and Ethereal Spirit. This is the Oracle of Time's go-to move to halt combat and heal. He does so by halting time only between himself and his opponent. Ethereal Spirit regenerates his health quickly during the duration of the shout, so he can go back to the battlefield rejuvenated and refreshed. We patterned this move after the moment in Star Wars I: The Phantom Menace, when the battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul halts due to the energy fields, and they simply have to stand and stare at each other. Next, we have Temporal Realignment, which combines Slow Time, Secret of Strength, and Shield Charge. Use this move when facing a large number of enemies who are in an unfavorable formation. In the blink of an eye, the Oracle scatters them to the ground and resets his position to one more favorable. Use the time it takes them to get up off the ground to your advantage. Finally, we have his ultimate move, Dragon Break, which combines Mass Paralysis and Call Dragon. We imagine that the Oracle of Time uses his mastery of both Dragon Blood and time itself to harness a splinter of the power of Akatosh to cause a micro Dragon Break by using Mass Paralysis to represent freezing time, then Call Dragon, where we roleplay Odahviing to be an aspect of Akatosh, the time god himself. And with those special moves, we are ready to wrap up the Oracle of Time. Sword and board characters are always a blast to play, but the gameplay can get a bit stale after a while. An aged Chronomancer was the perfect way to spice up the standard gameplay, and the Staff of El No-Id's unique ability was the cherry on top. We often say that certain builds we post here on the channel are new favorites or unforgettable experiences, but the Oracle of Time was truly special. He takes a bit of setup to get kitted out and up to full power, but what follows is so worth it. Shout out as always to the incredible Vinsvept for his composition Starlit Echoes, which we used in this video. Head over to his channel and give him some support if you enjoyed his music. And just a reminder to check out our merch shop and Discord server if you want to join the community and support the channel further. We'll be back next month with another brand new build, and in between we'll be sharing more shorts to recap our past builds. Thank you all so much for your continued support. Be sure to like and subscribe to keep the magic of Skyrim alive. We'll see you next time, right here on Skypothesis.